This is why I actually think Christian McCaffrey should be the league MVP. I don't think he's going to win it, and that's going to piss me off. They'll compromise and give Christian McCaffrey Offensive Player of the Year or Comeback Player of the Year, but we can't vote him for both because he can't possibly be the Comeback Player of the Year and the MVP. So let's just, no. Which team has a lot of wins because of a player?
And now NFL IQ with Cynthia Frelund and Logan Ryan.
Welcome to Week 18's version of NFL IQ. I'm here with my very good friend, Logan Ryan, who has switched the helmets around behind him to reflect probably like Super Bowl premonitions. I don't even know. How are you, my friend? How's Christmas?
Oh, it was great. Man, overstimulated. My kids are about that time where winter break needs to come to an end, but it was good to be home. I had to plan a few Christmases, and I was super bummed when I was working on Christmas, so I'm not gonna complain too much when I'm home for Christmas. So it's been a lot of fun. I've been documenting how many days me and my son play catch, which is every day of the year right now. So we'll see how long that streak continues. But enjoying these moments, trying to watch some football when I can. And yes, I do move the shelf around how I feel about the teams I play for. The Bucs might be going down. They've been pissing me off lately. The Niners, bang bang up top. The Patriots, obviously in clear view. They're my two favorite teams at the moment.
Before we move on from Christmas, how many, what were you putting together? What were you assembling? I saw the catch, and then I saw some
Oh,
assembly
Jesus.
social media. What is going on with that?
Listen, I gotta get on the same page with Santa going forward, because between Santa's list and friends and family sending me toys that aren't built, and I don't know, we gotta ask we gotta ask in the comments, make sure you like and subscribe, but
Yes.
comment, do you build the toys Christmas Eve so the kids come out and they're already built? Or, do you build them when they wanna play with them? Because you can have everything built, they don't wanna play with them right away. So I was back in my day, my son's 7, my daughter's 10, so for early on when I had a lot of juice in me, my parenting career, I was building everything night before. But now, man, I'm just leaving boxes under there, and apparently Hot Wheels, garages and stuff take some time and a lot of different letters, kind of built like IKEA. So I've been building a lot of Hot Wheels tracks, I think 4 garages, and I think my friends and family are pranking me at this point and sending my kids toys that they know require a lot of, building and installation.
Well, I didn't make my sister-in-law or brother-in-law have to build anything, but I did get their 3 kids, harmonicas in the shape of fruit. So, yeah, they were like little watermelon and banana
Loud
harmonicas,
toys.
which are so cute. So,
That's another no-no. Loud toys are another no-no.
I don't know. I think they'll like it. I think it'll be okay. Anyways, we've got some big ones this week, and so many interesting things happened this past week to add little but if then things. So let's start with the big one. It is, who wins the AFC North? Is it the Steelers? Is it the Ravens? What phase of the game do you want to begin with this huge one in Baltimore? I mean, I'm this is going to be this is the Sunday nighter. It's the biggest one for sure.
I think that the biggest question about it, right, is Lamar Jackson's not playing. Lamar Jackson's not playing, so the game plan should be extremely simple. Derrick Henry needs to touch the ball 40 times. Period. I don't care about time. I don't care about score. I gotta see my boy 22. My daughter calls him Mr. Incredible because she was little when we were on the Titans together. She used to call him. That's when the Incredibles came out. Thought it was the black Mr. Incredible. They got to give Mr. Incredible 40 touches, and you saw what we did last week with it. But that's all that matters. I know if I'm a Pittsburgh Steeler, what the meetings look like this week defensively of Patrick Queen and them, they know who they got to stop, and I think it's going to come down to Derrick Henry. I would ride him to the playoffs, pause, and see how far that goes.
Okay, so just so you have it, the Ravens are 5-11 in games where Jackson doesn't start since he became their primary starter in 2019. And they're 70-29 in games when he does start. And in general, the Ravens average nearly 60 fewer passing yards per game and 25 fewer rushing yards per, just so everyone kind of has the context. So that's kind of the difference. I think Stu Huntley has played well. You talk about Derrick Henry. I had to write this down. I couldn't memorize all of this in time. So total in carries, got that one, 36. His rushing yards, 216, 4 touchdowns. He forced 9 missed tackles, and he had 97 rushing yards over expected against Green Bay. Now, this is even more impressive because leading into this game, the Packers defense had a sub 10%, so 9.2 missed tackle rate. That was the lowest in the NFL. They were not missing tackles. Quay Walker was a big deal about that. He'd missed just 2 tackles on 64 tackle run attempts so far, and that's the second lowest among all linebackers. And Derrick Henry came into this game only forcing an 18% missed tackle rate, which was his lowest since 2018. Now, just so you have kind of what happened in the first half, rushing yards were inside carries were super effective. He had 73 yards, 2 touchdowns, 30 rushing yards over expected on 15 carries. And in the second half, they switched it to outside runs. So 75
Nice.
yards, 49 rushing yards over expected on 10 carries. And he had 108 yards, both inside and outside carries for the 4th time in his career. So pretty crazy. And just to put this even more context, no other running back has even had one game with 100 such yards since 2016. That's when the Next Gen Stats first started tracking. What did the Ravens do differently to get and keep Derrick Henry going? Because that was not a good opportunity. This was the best run defense by the metrics of forcing missed tackles. Like, what was different?
Here, I love this question, by the way, and that was great. That was great information and insight. Here's something I want you to look and maybe get back to me on. Derrick Henry when the quarterback's under center versus Derrick Henry when the quarterback's in the gun. And Lamar Jackson operates in the shotgun. It's what he did in college. He's able to be a runner, right, in the gun run game. Now, we know Lamar Jackson's been injured this year, so he hasn't been quite the runner that he has. But now what I noticed what the Ravens did with Tyler Huntley was put him under center, turn around and hand the ball to Derrick Henry with a 7-yard head start, being 7 yards behind the line of scrimmage. That is what we did in Tennessee. We had Marcus Mariota, who was playing under center, not really what he does best. We know he's a amazing quarterback in college and in the NFL in the gun. That's what he grew up doing, playing in the shotgun. When we made the switch to Ryan Tannehill, put Ryan Tannehill under center, Mike Vrabel said, look, we're going to go to under center quarterback and we're going to run the ball to Derrick Henry. And when they did that with Tyler Huntley, look at the Derrick Henry production. It looked a lot like the Tennessee Titans offense and not the offense of Lamar Jackson's offense. And I think they got to go to that type of offense of put the ball under center. And that's a dying breed. The NFL doesn't do that a lot. A lot of these quarterbacks operate in a gun. But this is prime Adrian Peterson days. Turn around and hand it to him 30-some times and watch what he does. And that's not what maybe the analytics say to do anymore. But you got to – I compare when Derrick went to Baltimore, I know I'm going 2 trains of thoughts here, but I compared it to him and Lamar Jackson's like Shaq and Kobe. You got a dominant post player, and Lamar Jackson is as talented as like Kobe Bryant, right? How's that going to work? And obviously it's worked really well, and then at times it hasn't. Like, why is he not getting the ball enough? They got to throw the ball to Shaq this game. They got to operate out of the post. And that might not be how people play basketball anymore, but that's what they got to do to get the best out of Derrick Henry, because I was part of that. I was on the Titans a la Orlando Magic, and we just threw the ball to Dwight Howard. That's it, and get out the way. And I think that's what you got to do with Derrick Henry. They got to go under center, turn and hand him the ball, get out of the gun. But I would love to see the stats on, Derrick Henry in the shotgun versus when the quarterback's under center.
Yeah, I can certainly get you that, but he was traveling faster, which would support your thesis than in other games. So just so you have that.
Hey, you got a head start. You got a couple yards before he gets the ball, It's like Little League football. Turn the hand to that guy, and that guy's pretty good.
Well, and also he's huge. So it's harder. Just think about force, right? Like how does
And he's fast. He's very fast when he gets
fast,
going.
but he's also
like
a huge human, right? It's harder to bring him down than it is a guy who weighs 30 pounds less than him. So
I've seen him curl on a straight bar, what humans in college squat. I've seen what people have on their backs and they squat. Maybe in your local gym at your Planet Fitness. I was next to Derrick Henry with a curl bar. He had a straight bar curling 135 plus pounds, which you're not supposed to put those size plates to curl, so he's different. He's truly different.
I love that Derrick Henry curls more like me plus like a decent sized weight. Like that's pretty
Yeah,
good
he
take.
curl your body weight for sure. I don't know how much you weigh, but I definitely think that Derrick Henry's curling that no
I
problem.
weigh less than that. So yes, he can curl me. I mean, I'm carrying a little holiday weight, don't want to but I know
That's
that
so
it's
cool.
less than what than that. Anyways.
I've seen it. Made me
So,
realize I gotta wake up early and get to the facility early and maximize what God gave me
yes.
because he's a different type of human when it comes to strength.
So, should we switch over and talk about the run game on the other side, or where do you wanna go next in this one? Because we got a lot of stats to cover. We advantage Derrick Henry should they get him in the right situation, right? Like, how does this like, if you're the Steelers stopping him, how effective do you think they can be at stopping him?
The Steelers always play the Ravens well. Like, they stop the Ravens with Lamar Jackson, like, all the time. It's a division game. They know each other. The Steelers are built on toughness. They pride themselves on defense. They have their best players on their defense in the front. Jalen Ramsey's a physical player in the back end, but their best players are in their front D line. So they know what it's gonna come down to. So they're not new to this. They've played against Derek. I don't know how much they played against Derek, under center, how I think they should use Derek, the Ravens, that is.
Yep.
But, TJ Watt, Cam Hayward, their best players play defensive line.
So this is so super interesting because there's an interesting so first of all, let's do the Derrick Henry or sorry, let's do the Jalen Ramsey stat first because I thought this was really fascinating when I was looking at him to prep for this. He started off the season for the first 8 weeks of the season. He was playing corner and either in the slot or on the outside 77% of the time. But starting in week 9, they switched him completely to safety. And I mean, 73% of the time, right? Like sub 20% that he's been playing corner anymore. So it's very interesting. He played 430 snaps at safety this season, which is a big shift in the back end of that defense. And I'm curious how that works. But I also want to combat that with okay, against the run, Patrick Queen has only 17 missed tackles. He has 17 missed tackles. That's second most in the NFL. But Cam Hayward, yes, he has a missed tackle. Cam Hayward has only missed a tackle on sub 7%. He has 56 run tackles, which is the third most at the position. So if you could, good luck getting past Cam Hayward, but if you can, the back end feels different. But now they're bringing in Jalen Ramsey potentially help out. That's my read on that. Is that what you're getting as well?
You know, if you want to shore up your defense, you have to have short tacklers. And there are going to be great players and they're going to make great plays. You just got to get them down. Derek's going to break a run and it's got to be tackled at 12 yards and not 86 yards. And I've seen Derek and Jalen Ramsey on the Jags break for 99-yard touchdown runs. So I've seen that happen. But the best defenses have short tacklers. It's not always pretty. It's not always big hits, but guys that can get people down, right? Obviously, you want to limit explosive plays. We call that 20-yard plus pass and run plays, or some people market 12-yard runs, 20-yard passes. It's different on every team, but data shows you want to limit the big explosive plays. Make offenses drive the ball 3, 4, 5 yards at a time. They're obviously going to mess it up eventually. So Jalen Ramsey is going to be a potential Hall of Fame player because he is such a good tackler. On top of he's such a good athlete. He's a very good athlete. He has good size at any position. He's played safety in college. He's obviously been an all-pro corner. He's obviously been all-pro at nickel. He's pretty much the modern-day Charles Woodson, but he's a very good tackler.
Remember when he
So
backed the Brinks truck up? Like literal?
he
That was
did.
funny.
He backed the Brinks truck up, and I pulled up to training camp with puppies. It's we're all motivated different, adoptable dogs. But I will say he's a very good tackler, and I know like Bill Belichick and a lot of great defensive coaches, they believe on building the middle of their defense with really good tacklers, right? On the outside, when you deal with the corners and stuff, they got to cover, and that's different. But when the game's played in between the hashes, which this game is going to be played with Derrick Henry running the ball, you got to have guys that can make tackles. You can't have linebackers leading the league, second in the league, and miss tackles. That's not good for good run defense. So I think he shored that up. They probably had a missed tackling problem.
Yep. Okay, so Snoop Huntley, we know he's gonna work with. I guess I just thought it was interesting. Zay Flowers is like having a in terms of yards, he's like top 3 in the league, which is kind of quietly happened. I feel like just because I don't know, you hear about Jackson Smith and Jigbos of the world, the Puka Nakuas, and then there's A. Flowers right there, yardage-wise, but, I mean, what's the strategy against the Steelers, who have not been the Steelers of locking down, I know TJ Watt hasn't been there for a couple weeks before he has to come back, like, we get it, but what about this passing game? Because you got Tyler Huntley in there. Of course, you have the tight ends who've been extremely important. You have Zay Flowers. What's the strategy other than Derrick Henry to kind of earn first downs?
Well, you run the ball, right? And then that sets up the play action, right? The Steelers are going to have to commit the bodies to stop the run. And when they bring that safety down in the box, when they bring that eighth person down, then you know whether it's zone or man, it's one-on-one coverage on the outside. And you got to hope that Zay Flowers' quickness, his ability to motion, to move him around that offense, you can dictate the matchups. And I'll tell you what, the Steelers, or I will stick with the Ravens. So you can dictate where he goes because Zay Flower lines up all over the formation. He's not just going to be followed by Joey Porter Jr. out there, and that's it. He's going to be in the slot. He's going to be on the left. He's going to be on the right. He's going to carry the ball. They're going to jet sweep him. So you're going to find matchups where Zay Flowers one-on-one, and then you want your guy to really be able to win one-on-one consistently. And when we got to throw it, Zay Flowers would be open when we need a guy to get open. And that's what Zay Flowers' role is in that offense, and that's what truly a number one target. I don't care if it's running back, tight end, or receiver. A number one target in the pass game job is to win one-on-ones when we need you to. We can scheme people open. There are plays for certain players. There's 10 Zay Flower plays. There's 10. But when it's one-on-one across the board, who are we going to? And that's how you know if that guy's consistently winning for you. That's, he's your number one target and usually gets paid as such.
I mean, to me, the hard part I have with Zay Flowers and projecting him with Tyler Huntley is the fact that he's not the most precise route runner. I think we can agree on that. He does get open, but it's not necessarily always I'm like, is that what route is that? What did he just run? Right. And I think the quarterback might think that as well. So is that, do they have enough chemistry? Because I think that's kind of where he and Lamar Jackson can get that, the Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes ad-libbing vibe, right? But is that harder to pick up with a backup quarterback? I don't know. It seems like it should be, logically, but I don't know. Is he just so good at getting open that it doesn't matter?
Well, he creates a lot of separation because he's extremely quick. And like I said, they scheme him open a lot of ways with their play design. And it's not like they want him or need him to run these super precise routes. I don't think they're a precise passing offense like that way, even though Lamar Jackson's an accurate thrower. I think it's spots. I think get to spots. Hey, get 15 to 20 yards downfield on the hash and I'll find you. Right? And that route might look different, but he'll be at that spot at that time. Hey, get to the numbers. You got to over route, get 18 to 20 yards downfield and get to the opposite numbers. And that might look like a couple different jukes and maybe a different guy might run it, but maybe that Hopkins might run it that way, but they're throwing to spots. And I think when you have a backup quarterback, it's going to rely on the run game. He's going to throw these things to certain spots and Zay Flowers got to get to that spot by that time. And that can look very different. I think that's what, the game is going away from these super precise technical route runners that we had in the 90s and early 2000s, like the Torrey Holtz and the Marvin Harrisons. And now college isn't as detailed anymore. Brady talks about it all the time, quarterback play isn't as detailed. But analytics is talking about run more plays, run it at tempo, and get to certain spots. And I think that's the type of receiver that Zay Flowers is. And look, as long as you get open and catch the ball, it doesn't really matter what that route looks like anymore if you're consistently getting open. Zay Flowers' biggest issue, and I know it because I lived on this, is that he fumbles the ball. Because he's little, he's frail. I don't say frail, he's slight. And anytime a receiver weighed less than me, I was 195 pounds. So that's a good size defensive back. It's not huge. But anytime a guy is 175, 180, super quick, I'm punching the ball out. I just didn't think they were strong enough to carry the ball out there. When you got to tackle 240-pound guys like Derrick Henry, that's hard to punch the ball out on him. I got to worry about tackling him. But a guy that's smaller, people are punching the ball out on him, and it's a target. And once you have that target on your back, every defensive back is hey, this is an opportunity to get the ball off this guy. and they're gonna hunt that ball. So he's got to hold on to the ball. There's so many situations they've been in big games where I've seen him fumble, and it's almost seemed costly. So I just think it's kind of a target he's going through right now. And I think he's got to, he's got to take care of the ball when he is making people miss.
Okay, let's switch to the other side because a really important target will not be on the field for Aaron Rodgers, and that's DK Metcalf. He was lining up like 80% of the time out wide. We saw a difference without him there, be it, maybe he hasn't had these like monstrous games this year, like 200 yards, like something crazy like that, but he's really impactful. And we've also seen, look, I guess my first question is we got to address it. Did you think that Aaron Rodgers, they were more worried about Myles Garrett not getting the record against Aaron Rodgers and selling out for that? Or do you think it was just a function of there was no DK Metcalf, they were adjusting to some things, this is a very good defense? I mean, Denzel Ward played really well. Like, there's a lot of which one was it from what you saw?
Look, I think Myles Garrett wrecked the game without getting a sack. I mean, I know for sure that the Steelers want to get the ball out quickly. They wanted to get the ball out of their hands quickly, so Myles Garrett couldn't get a sack, but that's probably what you got to do anyway. So he 100% was getting pressure. He 100% was wrecking things, and Aaron Rodgers got the ball out of his hands. I don't know the stats. I watched the film because I'm actually calling the upcoming Cleveland Bengals game. So, yep. So I watched the tape, and they absolutely wrecked shop up front, and then the Browns just straight up locked down the Steelers receivers. They couldn't get open. They couldn't get open quickly, and that's because the receivers are inexperienced, and the Browns corners were just better. Denzel Ward was just better than anyone he was covering, and he probably could have did the same to DK Metcalf. Honestly, Denzel Ward is my favorite corner in the league, but it's a combination of how I'm probably going to use this on TV, but style makes fights, right? That's what they say in boxing, and the way the Browns play defense was not good for the Steelers in terms of man-to-man, in your face, and oh, by the way, your best wide receiver's not playing, and then we have Myles Garrett you got to account for. So the Steelers couldn't handle it, and they didn't give up a sack to Myles Garrett, but they did not. They generated 6 points on offense, and it was because they had no passing game. The ball was thrown out of bounds or in the dirt or released really quickly the entire game. I think that has to do with Myles Garrett.
So just so you have the number, so you can use this for your broadcast. Rodgers, in general, he's been pressured on some 22%, 21.9 if you want, of his dropbacks this season. That's the lowest rate among 33 qualified quarterbacks, so not just 32, but 33. His quick release, he's averaged the league's fastest 2.63 seconds to throw. And, so the pressure situation, he was 6 of 9 for 62 yards under pressure. Now, being under pressure doesn't mean you get sacked, right? So all of the pressured dropbacks, he was 6 of 9. Not a great number necessarily, but it's hard to win. And DK Metcalf, again, 88% of the Steelers' offensive snaps. That's actually the 7th highest rate amongst all wide receivers. Him not being there is just going to change the calculus no matter what. So I don't know if I just think they didn't want to get Aaron Rodgers hit. Myles Garrett wrecked the game. I don't know if it was necessarily because of not wanting to be the highlight film against, but I think it's potentially, they just don't want Aaron Rodgers to get hit. Probably smart, not, I don't know if it was necessarily record watching as much as it was just a strategy thing. So can their running backs give enough push? We've seen those running backs be used as wide receivers. In fact, Kenneth Gainwell, in terms of running backs, has lined up the 3rd most often as a non-running back. So he's caught passes, been the subject of a target in non-backfield alignment, so slot, wide, or tight, 3rd most often of any running back this season. So can the Steelers, is that one way that Arthur Smith's going to be able to craft some things for Aaron Rodgers to leverage those quick passes to kind of beat up the Ravens defense?
Yeah, they're going to need to. They're absolutely going to need to utilize all their weapons, and I feel, this has been the theme of Aaron Rodgers is his style of offense. His receivers don't motion a lot. He doesn't motion to get them open. He doesn't do the things that Zay Flowers does to get open. He likes to see where they're lined up. He likes to read the coverage, and he likes to have his guys go win. And he was strong to the one-on-one matchup. They just weren't winning because the Browns, that's how the Browns play defense. I don't know if the Ravens can play defense the same way the Browns can play defense. So it might work a little better than it did last week. But that's just Aaron Rodgers' MO. And when you don't have the Devontae Adams of the world and the guys that can win quickly, it doesn't always work. And obviously it didn't work in the Jets. I think a lot of that had to do with injury. So I think both coordinators are going to go out being aggressive. I think Baltimore's like, hey, we're going to bring pressure. They got Aaron Rodgers. We're going to go after him. We have Wiggins. We have Humphrey. We're going to lock up. We're going to bring pressure defensively and make Aaron Rodgers throw the ball downfield. Because that's what Cleveland did. And I can sit here and think that the Steelers got to say, hey, they have Derrick Henry and they have a backup quarterback in the game. This is our chance to bring a lot of pressure and put it in the quarterback's hands to beat us. So I think you're going to see aggressive defenses on both sides, and it's going to be about who can make the plays down the field in the air is going to dictate this game. I know the running game is going to be huge, and I told you they got to run it to Derrick 40 times, and I think the Steelers got to run the ball 30-plus times. But who can make those big plays down the field, draw pass interferences, whatever it is, on the perimeter might be a deciding factor.
So just so you have it, Nate Wiggins has been targeted more than any other defensive back this season. And, he's allowed like about the 7th most yards. Okay. Marlon Humphrey, he's been targeted about 20 times less, and he's allowed 624, which is more yards than the 591 that Wiggins has allowed. Deep targets, Humphrey's faced 10 of them. He's allowed 6%. Point being is they're gettable.
They're
they're very gettable.
They've got a lot this year. It's been the problem with the Ravens. They look like the greatest team on paper, and they haven't played well this year consistently. So that's why they're in this position of having to play in to be here. Their defense has not played good enough to a standard, and the Steelers' defense hasn't. This ain't the Ravens-Steelers game that I used to see in 2015 and 2013 and 2010. This ain't these Ravens-Steelers games at all. This is definitely watered-down versions of both teams. It's just someone's got to win this division because the Browns clearly weren't doing it this year. Then Joe Burrow got hurt. So, and the Bengals don't really have a defense. So someone's got to win a division. I like 22 and the Ravens to give him the ball and do it. But Aaron Rodgers is no slouch either, even at this age.
My last point here is about Kyle Hamilton, because I think the Ravens have been in the bottom 5 in terms of pressure rate all season long. In terms of pressuring opposing quarterbacks, it has not been their strength. They've had moments where Kyle Van Noy has looked great and young and whatever, but overall they have not had a consistent pass rush against quarterbacks. But I do want to talk about Kyle Hamilton because only 3 players have 100 snaps at the line of scrimmage, in the slot, and at safety this season. It's Derwin James, Jerry Chin, and Kyle Hamilton, which is kind of fun. And Hamilton and Derwin James, they're pass rushing, both of them. Hamilton has the 5th most pressures among defensive backs. He's sacked the quarterback. I guess my question is will Kyle Hamilton and the surrounding cast be enough to shut Aaron Rodgers down? I have the Ravens eking out a win. I don't think this is by any means a slam dunk or home run, but between 22 and a little bit more of a push against an offense that is missing their chess piece in DK Metcalf. I think the Ravens take this one at home by they're gonna have to sweat it out. Our producer Ben's gonna have to sweat it out. He's a Ravens fan, so he's sweat it out, but happy in the end.
I lean with you on that. I think the Steelers' offense just isn't explosive, and their defense is not dominant enough this year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the Ravens' defense is dominant by any means, but I do think that Derrick Henry, if they give it to him, committed to give it to him as much time as he needs to get it, he can will this team to win. Kyle Hamilton, heck of a player.
Yep.
And I think he'll ball out. He'll play well. I don't think it's about the offensive, I don't think the Steelers' offense is going to go off by any means,
right?
Or regardless who they're playing against. But I feel as if the Ravens should win this game. I would be shocked. It's more shocking if the Ravens don't win this game. I'll put it like that.
I got you. I'm with you. All right. So you said somebody needs to win the AFC North. The same can be said about the NFC South. Somebody's got to win the division. I mean, okay. Let's just set the table here, and then I'm going to let you have the floor will be yours. But the Bucs and the Panthers play each other. That happens on Saturday. Now, if the Panthers win, they're in. If the Bucs win, then they're going to be scoreboard watching on Sunday, because then they will need Atlanta to beat New Orleans in order to win.
Yeah, crazy.
So Tampa does not control their own destiny anymore after losing to the Dolphins. Anything you want to say about either of these two teams to start this off?
First of all, I was on a historic media rise these past 2 years until the Bucs just have me looking crazy for the last 3 weeks. There is some loyalists to me. I think I know ball. I know a lot of these players, and the Bucs keep surprising me with how bad they're playing. I mean, this season has kind of gone off the rails. I keep picking the Bucs to win whatever game they're about to play, and I didn't think they'll lose to the Dolphins. I didn't think they'll lose to the Panthers. I didn't think they'll lose to whoever they lost to before. So it's just it's not good right now in Tampa Bay at all for the Bucs. I have this belief in Baker. I have this belief in Mike Evans, and we talk about players willing a victory. I truly feel that it's a huge Mike Evans game. I played in this game a few years ago when I was on the Bucs with Brady, and we had to beat the Panthers to go in the playoffs. And I think Mike had 2-3 touchdowns, 200 yards. He is like, get your Hall of Fame players the ball and get Derrick Henry the ball. Mike Evans is another Hall of Famer. And I don't call everyone I play with a Hall of Famer, but they're just some guys you just know. And that all comes out of debate, and people have a vote who shouldn't have a vote. But as a player, that dude's different. Mike is different. And he could be the reason, when in doubt, get him the ball. So, obviously, that's what they need to do. I cannot continue to throw shade on the Panthers because I never took the Panthers that serious in my entire playing career. Actually, no. Luke Kuechly and the Panthers were nice. But for most of my career, they weren't serious. So, but hey, Canales is a heck of a coach. I felt that. I knew that. He is a very good coach, getting the best out of Bryce Young. They run the ball. They're coached well. Why not us? Belief. We can win it. I know all that speech is going around them. Underdogs. Let's go get the big guys over there. This is all on the Bucs plate. If they play how they should play, and Todd Bowles got to figure the defense out. It's a huge part of it. But if they get Mike Evans the ball, and J.C. Horn is a heck of a corner. But I've seen Mike Evans do it to him multiple times. So this is on 13 and Baker to figure that out.
So I will say J.C. Horn does have a lot of interceptions, like 5 of them against deep balls. But here's the thing I saw from Baker Mayfield that was like, what? I think we can agree that the Dolphins secondary, not a top unit.
No. Don't have Jalen Ramsey anymore or anything like that.
So why was Baker Mayfield basically incapable of completing deep passes against this unit? All of his production, as in 313 of his yards and 2 touchdowns in week 17 against the Dolphins, all short passes. What happened?
I'm not going to speculate because I'm not a doctor, but he's clearly injured. Okay, we know he hurt his shoulder. And when you're a player and you play, I have a high ankle sprain, right? And then I just say, hey, doctor's like 3-4 weeks. I'm like, nope. I'm going to get back in 2 weeks because I'm a warrior and I'm going to play and Baker's going to play. And then they're like, yo, Logan, you got beat on 3 deep balls the end of the year. What happened? I was on a high ankle sprain. I'm trying my best.
Right.
So stats don't care. Media doesn't care. There's no excuse. You know it as a player. But if Baker Mayfield isn't throwing the ball downfield as much as he was in the beginning of the year, oh, by the way, when his post-shoulder injury, I think he's still hurt. So what? You got to play. But I think these things do affect how you play because you physically are ailing out there. You're going to lay it on the line, but it affects your style and how you need to play because you can't do everything as effectively as you can when you're healthy. It's just the natural duration of the season. It changes teams based on who's healthy and when and how they're feeling.
Okay, so just so you know, he finished 1 of 7 for 33 yards with 2 interceptions on deep passes, so 20-plus air yarders. And by the way, in this game, he wasn't really pressured all that often. 18%, that's a season low for him. He completed just 1 of his 4 passes under pressure. He got 11 yards on it. He took 3 sacks and a sack fumble that basically, in the fourth quarter, that was what shut that drive down. So I guess I'm also a little baffled at why are we not running it? Like, what's this? Why didn't, what? What?
Yeah, look, these are a lot of questions people in Tampa here are asking. Bucky Irvin's been banged up most of the year, obviously back. Rashad Wright, you have 2 quality backs. They're not pound it type backs where it's like Derrick Henry turn around and hand it 40 time type backs. I think,
McCaffrey's been averaging 5.8 yards per carry though, like the most of the league. Like what?
yeah, I mean, look, they got to do something. They have a plethora of talent on offense. That is not, you have Ibuka, who looked like the rookie of the year. You have Mike Evans back now.
Mike
You have Chris
Evans.
Godwin back. You have Bucky Irving. Oh, by the way, Rashad White's no slouch. You have Baker Mayfield, who was an MVP candidate for 12 weeks of the year. Like, they have the guys. Guess what? They don't have Liam Cohen anymore. I know that. They don't have Dave Canales anymore. I know that. Their head coach on other teams doing well. So coaching matters offensively, right? The play caller matters this year. So they got to figure it out. They got to figure out for this one, because the Panthers are no slouch. They play tough. But again, stats don't have to tell me this. Numbers don't have to. This is straight off of ignorance and instinct. I'm rocking with the Bucs until they don't get it done. Then I'm like, look, we have to have a long, hard talk. I would be utterly shocked if Baker Mayfield can't find a way to beat Bryce Young to win this game. And that is no shade on anyone mentioned. I just think that Baker Mayfield needs to find a way to win this one.
So this was super interesting though. This isn't about the defense. Let's switch to the other side. When Alec Ingold, so fullbacks, listen, did you know?
I love Alec Ingold, by the way.
You what?
I love him, by the way. He's
good. I love fullbacks. I think they're like one of the funniest. Like I just think it's like, anyways, you're a real football player if you play fullback, because they get paid no money and they are asked to do a lot for almost no glory. So this is interesting. When he was on the field against the Bucs, and usually you think Todd Bowles, you think no one can run against him. That has been, Todd Bowles is like a run stopper. That is what those defenses have really been very good at since forever, right? But with Ingold on the field, Achane, he had 13 rushes for 72 yards. He averaged 5.5 per carry. All 5 of his first downs on the ground came when Ingold was in the game. He had a 20-yard reception with a block from Ingold. And just so you know, when Ingold wasn't on the field, Achane had 20 scrimmage yards on 7 touches. I just think it's interesting. What did the fullback give them that stifled the defense and allowed Achane to run against the Bucs?
I would say this, McDaniels comes from McDaniel, right? He comes from the Niners system. Right?
Yeah, he's a Shanahan person. He's a Shanny person.
He's a Shanny tree.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was on the Bucs, Todd brings a lot of pressure different ways. He figures it out, comes left, comes right, and he adjusts with a lot of pressure. And then it's built around Vita Vea and these guys in the front, the D linemen in the front, especially in the middle, Levante David. Well, that Shanahan run game at times, the Niners, when we play them, was tough because a lot of it was off the edges, a lot of it was away from Vita, a lot of it was threatening the edges. And the Dolphins, as whatever you want to think of them, their run scheme is pretty complex. It's similar to the Niners with a lot more with speed, right? And I just think it's style makes fights. That's not a good style against Todd sometimes to the perimeter. Then the fullback adds an extra blocker in the scheme. And if the strength of your defense is in the middle, these teams aren't run the ball to the middle. And I think that is something that, gave us problems when I was there. And I definitely think it gave the Bucs problems last week. And guess what? Canales worked for Todd. So he was offensive play caller. Todd's the defensive play caller and head coach. Every single training camp, they're calling plays against each other. Every single offseason, they're calling plays against each other. Every single practice, when they scrimmage, you call plays against. You don't think Canales knows exactly how Todd thinks, and you don't think Todd knows exactly how Canales thinks in all the meetings they had. And so they know each other so well, and they play each other twice a year. So it's going to be very interesting to see what Canales takes, what he does, what he knows the strengths and weaknesses of that defense. And how they decide to call the game against each other. But fullbacks add extra gaps, extra layers, and Miami's all perimeter run game.
I just think I just thought that fullback note was interesting because, I think sometimes people forget, like I said, they're unsung heroes, and Devon Achane is very good. So you're going to expect good things from a guy who's been fantasy football number crushing all season long. Like to me, it's like, well, what made him good in this particular matchup? So I want to focus on Bryce Young on deep passes because we talked about Baker Mayfield and you say maybe he's not necessarily 100% healthy. Well, Bryce Young, he's not taking a lot of deep attempts. It's like 7%. He's like, or, bottom 8%, bottom 7 in the league in terms of his attempts this season. But when he does throw deep, he's been effective. He has the 5th highest completion percentage on deep passes, and he's averaged the 7th most yards per deep attempt at almost 14. And of course, that's Tedero McMillan, who's usually the target of that. Tedero McMillan having just a huge percentage of these passing yards for the team. I'm just curious, is that if you're going to say, I know you're rolling with the Bucs, what is the prescription for Carolina to upset the Bucs?
Well, I think the Bucs are built to play ahead because of how much pressure they bring and the style of defense they want to play. So if Carolina, I would call Carolina the underdog still in this game. And I don't know what the odds are.
I'm sure they are. Yeah, I'll look it up.
Right. I just would call them the underdogs.
Mhm.
Anytime you're in a playoff game, this is a playoff game, the longer you keep the underdog, the longer the underdog's on top or around, the more belief they have. So Carolina needs to come out fast for the underdog role to believe they can win and stay in it, and also based on how Tampa plays defense. And that is to run the ball, right? Take care of the ball. Like I'm sure Bryce Young, we've had talks on here about young quarterbacks kind of taking what they get and learning the system before they get back to taking their risk. We talked about that process on an earlier episode. But who does Ted McMillan remind you of? Who's his player comp? Another top receiver, 6'5", Mike Evans, right? So they have their Mike Evans. They have their guy that is taller than your DB. I'll throw it up to him. I'm not worried about interceptions. Good things will happen. He'll catch it or knock it down, right? So they have their version. They're like the mini Bucs, in my opinion. So they have their undersized quarterback, whatnot. So I think they have to get to a good start, play ahead, and Ted McMillan has to have a big game, similar to I anticipate Mike Evans needing to have a big game. They kind of got to beat the Bucs how the Bucs play, which is get ahead early, then you can play with the lead and have your weapons at your usage, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. The Bucs are 2.5-point favorites, just so you know at home. Just so you know, you're correct that the Panthers are the underdogs in this matchup. So the bottom line. I think I'm with you. I have the Bucs just narrowly edging out the Panthers. I do think that to me, it's some of these more veteran players that make a big difference in this one, and the Vita Vea factor of it all. Pressuring Bryce Young is going to be just very difficult. I think he's made a huge increase. Like he's done a great job this season. I don't want to take anything away from Bryce Young, but I just think that the Bucs are a little too much. But like we said when we started the segment, the Panthers could still win the division. So here's the question. What does Atlanta do? Who ends up winning? Because I mean, you got to be a massive Atlanta fan.
Oh, a huge. I mean, the Bucs controlled their whole destiny for like 15 weeks of the season, and then now they just lost it.
I can't believe that. I mean, that was bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's on them. And what Atlanta showed me against the Rams is somewhat sustainable because Kirk Cousins' Achilles feeling better. So where's Kirk Cousins? Back under center. We talked about that. And now where's Bijan Robinson? Behind the quarterback, 7 yards deep. Boy, does Bijan Robinson look good when he's 7 yards deep behind the quarterback, throwing him the ball or giving him the ball every single play. Boy, he's a really good player when you play through the running back. Running backs still have value. So that game showed me, based on money and all financials, I know Kirk Cousins saying he might not, probably going to be released or whatnot. Maybe that's what he wants. But boy,
Kirk Cousins is it's about timing. Nobody has better timing than Kirk Cousins. I mean, dang. Can you just all that Cole's cash he's getting? Anyways, that's a different story.
That agent might have to call again next year. Hey, what about the extension? I know Penix's coming off of ACL, his third one, by the way.
Yeah.
He might not be ready to start the season. So you got to roll with Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins looks better under center. He had great command of that offense, right?
So you're cheering against them because you need the Saints to win. You need the Saints to win.
Tyler Shuck on the other side looking good too. So
yeah,
forget all that.
If you're a Panthers fan, then you are cheering for Atlanta, which is wild. If you are a Bucs fan, then you are cheering for New Orleans.
If you're the Bucs and you win that game, and then Atlanta wins and you're not. It is what it is. That's too many variables for me as a player. Go play to win the game, and then you lost your fate. You lost your fate because of what you've done, but none of it matters until you win this one. I'm sure that's the whole focus. My whole thing is that Atlanta might have brought themselves some life next season with how they look. They look actually good. That's the best Atlanta look defensively. They had dudes making plays. This kid Watts was making plays. I didn't know he had 5 picks. Balled out in prime time. Now I know who he is. I know Jesse Bates going to make plays. I know they have the young pass rushers, right? I know they have a good corner in AJ Terrell. So they played really well, and they might have bought themselves. Raheem Morris might have bought himself another year and whatnot. The way that went out. So the NFC South is looking bright. Late start for most of these teams, but they're playing their best ball. The Saints have won a bunch of games, right? 4 or 5 of the 4 of the last 5.
And they came back. That was like I know no one was watching that game last week, but that was a gutsy win. Like, that was a gutsy come from behind win for Tyler Shuck, who was just drilling deep balls to Chris Olave. It was, I don't know. I think, I don't know, maybe I know that a lot of, there's lots to be made of the quarterbacks in this draft, but I think Tyler Shuck maybe got a little overlooked because he was old and useless, whatever they said about him. But I liked him coming out of Louisville, even though he's 26. Who cares? If he can play for 5 years, I think a lot of franchises would love that. There aren't, you see rivers come of Philip for how many people are actually able to play this position at a high enough level. Like the fact that he came back, I don't know. But that brings us to the Big Daddy, in my opinion, the most interesting game of the entire
The
weekend.
Big
I know
Daddy.
this was obviously these two teams are both going to the playoffs, but who's the 1 seed? Is it going to be the Niners? Is it going to be the Seahawks? Whoosh, which one? We can start anywhere you want to start.
I mean, the viewer knows where I'm going with this one. I'm bang bang all day. Shanahan. We'll talk about a coach of the year race. He's in there. What they're doing unprecedented with the injuries, and obviously it's like quarterback missed 7 games. Your number 1 wide receiver decides not to play this season, right? And then obviously your star tight end has not played every single game. Your all pro, your Hall of Famer, your Hall of Famer only played 1 snap in Trent Williams that game. And then obviously your other Hall of Famer, Fred Warner, is out for the year. And
He
by the
could be
way,
back. He could come back late in the playoffs, they said.
I'm not
I mean,
surprised by that either. I'm not surprised by that. He really is Kobe Bean Bryant of the NFL. He really is that guy. And
you got a Bosa gone. You got to, like, this is why we could talk about this at the end, but this is why I actually think Christian McCaffrey should be the league MVP. I'm not talking about like, I think the analytics argument about running backs devaluation has to do with price and replaceability. I don't think that what you're talking about, like, because last year I thought Saquon Barkley, like, anyways, my long story short is I think the argument gets conflated for where to assign value and how much to pay for it. I think that's a different thing, or where to draft the thing that it is to once we're on the field, because I don't think there's another player that's made a stronger case for his team winning because of him, which is how I would define
win-loss total. Absolutely.
which team has a lot of wins because of a player.
Right. If they get the 1 seed, not even if, but 1 seed regardless. 1 seed regardless. Like,
Right.
if they win or lose a game.
Correct.
How many games they won this year when Christian McCaffrey essentially being the lone star playing, the quarterback not playing, right? The knock on Purdy was, and then Christian McCaffrey didn't play last year, and look how the Niners did. Obviously, not too good last year. And they had the same amount of injuries last year, but Christian was the main injury. So the knock on Purdy was, oh, look what he did without his help. And it was, well, he had no help. Okay, look at Christian without no help. They're still winning. So that's why the value for the player at that position, regardless, is so high, because he has so much value.
I don't think he's going to win it, and that's going to piss me off, because we're like, I don't get to vote. So just so we're clear, NFL employees are not allowed to vote for these awards, which is annoying because I at least want to be a part of the process. I don't have a voice, anyways.
You deserve a vote. I don't get a vote. Well, I don't get a vote. I haven't got a vote yet.
You'll
I
get
don't
a
know what
vote
I got to
too.
do to get a vote.
I don't
But-
know. I'll have to find that out. I just know that NFL employees are not allowed to have a vote. But it makes me so angry that we're gonna, like, this like onesie twosie compromise world. You have kids. like everyone gets a participation trophy. Like they'll compromise and give Christian McCaffrey offensive player of the year or comeback player of the year. But well, we can't vote him for both because he can't possibly be the comeback player of the year and the MVP. So let's just like, no, absolutely not. If he is what he is and he's the MVP, I will shut up now because I'm actually picking the Seahawks in this game, but he is still the
Your
MVP.
model.
Yes.
Tell me why you're picking the Seahawks.
Well, two main factors, and actually both quarterbacks now have this. Number one, it's the fact that Sam Darnold can sustain turning the ball over just a bit, and not 4 times, not something crazy, but we've seen him have turnovers and the team fight back because of the complementary aspect of the defense. I'm also looking at when I look to see at how the Niners defense would likely where they would be vulnerable. And we're going to talk about this one because is Upton Stout going to play coming back from a concussion? I don't know. Hard to say. It's technically a short week with one day less. They play the most nickel of any team. They've relied on him. Can they pick on that specific spot with Jackson Smith and Jigba in that area? Tell me about this defense because a lot of what I have is Sam Darnold's ability to target an area where the Niners are a bit lacking. You have to remember the Niners have the fewest sacks. They're not bringing the pressure up front because of a no Bosa.
They're banged up.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying they're not good at it. I'm saying they can't.
No. I mean, the importance of Fred Warner and Bosa in that defense, I played in it. Unprecedented. A lot of the defense is built around those guys. Look, Diamador Lenore, the corner for the Hyena.
That's my favorite name to say too. Diamador Lenore.
The corner for the Niners, I think severely underrated in the NFL. Former teammate of mine. He played the slot when I was there. Right? He can play the slot. He publicly said he wants to match up with Jackson Smith and Jigba. He is the Niners' #1 corner, and he has played lights out this year. He's played like as good as any #1 corner in the NFL, and I'm sure the stats probably show that.
I'll give you the stats when you're done.
And when he was paid, people were like, why is this guy getting paid? Well, that's why he's getting paid. And he's getting paid because he can cover like a #1 corner. Oh, and by the way, he plays the slot too. So if they do match, which they don't match a lot in that scheme, but if they wanted to, oh, by the way, they had this guy played in the slot for 3 seasons, and then he bumped to the outside and became the #1 corner and played as well as a #1 corner. So if they wanted like the missing like matching piece for Jackson Smith and Jigba, who's a super versatile wide receiver, plays in the slot and outside, they legitimately have the perfect corner to match, who, by the way, has played Seattle twice a year for the length of his career, for Jackson Smith and Jigba's career. And how many wins has Seattle had over the Niners the last few years?
I don't know. I can look that up for you in a second.
Yeah,
I have my Diamador Lenore stat fired up and ready to go. I don't want to pull it down yet.
I don't know. I don't think they beat the Niners a bunch. Oh, and by the way, where did Sam Darnold kind of get his career rehabilitated? At the Niners. I was there with Sam Darnold. He was backing up Purdy. Learned a lot from Kyle Shanahan. So who do the Niners see every day in practice? Sam Darnold, who was the practice team quarterback for the Niners defense. Sam Darnold threw against us every single day. Not that Sam Darnold's not nice and elevates a whole nother level, but when you practice against a guy every single day and you pick him off every day in practice because his job's to run the scout team, no shade. That just gives you a mental thing of like, yo, Sam Darnold's not going to come in here. I practice against a guy every day, So the Niners know Sam Darnold really well. And I still think Sam Darnold's going to play well. But I feel like the Niners have a mental edge over the Seahawks and over Sam Darnold just because he was there. He was one of them. During the Super Bowl run where I'm wearing the actual, what is this? Zip up, quarter zip. That's
your
it,
quarter
right?
zip.
My quarter zip today.
Okay, so I need to give you the Diamador Lenore stat that I've been holding in my hand waiting to go.
There we go. I knew you wanted me to get it off.
I knew because I really like him. Plus, it's a fun name to say, so I like it. So he's been targeted at the second lowest rate among corners this season, and he's allowed a 0.8 yards per coverage snap. So is that good? Of course it's good, but it's 12th fewest among the same group of corners. And this is the fun one. He did not give up a single touchdown from 2024 until week 5 of 2025.
Yeah. No, he's good. Right? And this guy's 0 Pro Bowls. He's very, very good.
Not our pro. We need to elect our own group, but we'll do our own all pro list.
We probably should come on an all-pro list. I'll do some research on it. I'll do his due diligence like it deserves. But look, he's a key piece of why they're winning too. I know we say Christian McCaffrey and offensively, but what is this defense doing? How is this defense even surviving? And a lot of that has to do with how well he's playing on the outside to not get up the big plays. Oh, by the way, did you see when the Bears did the hook and ladder play, which is pretty crazy? Diamond Lador made the tackle on the hook and ladder one-on-one with the running back. That's your number one corner. I know a lot of number one cover corners that aren't going to make a tackle on DeAndre Swift in open field on a hook and ladder to help win the game. These are some of the things that he brings to the table that just counts as a tackle in the stat box. But like as a former player, these things I see like, oh, that's a game-saving number one seed type of play made right there. So the Niners will be ready for this one. But we might say the winner, I think the NFC champion's coming from the AFC West. Is that fair to say? I'm still high on
I'm
the
with you.
Rams, but I think the NFC West
I'm
is a
agreeing.
gauntlet this year. And if you won that division or if you find a way to survive, you're battle tested. You have to feel like if you're the Niners or the Seahawks, you're battle tested and ready for the playoffs because you might not play a team better than what you already seen all year.
So I want to ask you a question about cover 4 because I don't know if people know exactly what that is. Like a Robert Saleh thingy. He always is top 3 in the league in terms of the use of cover 4. It doesn't happen all the time. It's like 27% of the time. So like a third of the time, about, right? A fifth, whatever, fourth of the time. So what is it and why does it, why do that?
Cover 4 is a zone defense, right? There's man defenses and there's zone defenses. The zone defenses, you have cover 2, cover 3, cover 4, there's cover 5, there's cover 6, etc. They're all different numbers. Cover 4 essentially is saying, cover 2 is saying there's 2 deep players, the 2 safeties. Cover 3 is saying there's 3 deep players, the 2 corners and 1 of the safeties. Cover 4 is saying there's 4 deep players. Both corners and both safeties are deep. Ideally, you want to keep an umbrella over the entire offense and you want everything thrown short. The Niners like to get really deep. They want you to check everything short and then Fred Warner knocks your head off. That's how the defense plays. Okay? Now, they realized like that's a high school defense. It's too basic. So the safeties and the corners read routes and they pass them off and they match the routes down the field. You don't know how it's going to play out, but you practice this defense and they run it about 90% of the time. And all they do is practice cover 4 every day. They don't run a lot of complexity of coverages. They just practice this one thing. They like mastered the one kick, the Bruce Lee quote, 10,000 times. And they practice every single play you have and they match it up. If he breaks at 10 yards, the safety will take him, the corner will take this guy, and then the corner will take this guy and the safety with this guy. So there's a bunch of vulnerabilities in cover 4 if you don't practice it enough and you don't communicate. And honestly gives up the most touchdowns in my opinion. But if you're a team that masters it, practices it, and communicates, then you match all the routes down the field, but you're only rushing 4 pass rushers, right? Because you have the rest in back and coverage, 4 deep, and then you have the 3 linebackers underneath. You're dropping 7, rushing 4. But when you pay Nick Bosa, those guys to win with a 4-man pass rush, right? Then you can rush 4, still get pressure, and drop 7. It's safe.
So is it fair to say without Nick Bosa on the field that what they're saying is we are still really good at communicating and use it because they haven't really dropped off their use of it, right? That
It's all they do. It's all they know. It's literally all they know. And you know, the story I came off a cruise. I retired. The Niners called me off a Disney cruise. I returned to play. So I left. I'm talking about I wasn't training at all. I was really, really retired and like drinking a beer at breakfast type of retired. And, you know, Fat Thor retired. And they called me like, hey, we want you to one last mission. I saw a lot of movies. One last mission. What can go wrong, babe? Don't worry. And then obviously, you know how the movie goes. So they didn't tell me Patrick Mahomes would be the villain in the movie though. But anyway, I learned the defense in 3 days. I'm like, this is it. Cover 4 and then this and that. Like, that's it. So I end up starting at free safety, strong safety, and nickel throughout the playoffs at 3 different positions in essentially 2 weeks' time of learning the defense. because it's that simple. It's the simplest defense to learn, but
Mhm.
hard to play because it's a lot of complexities in how they do things. And I've done some of it at different places and understood it rather quickly. But in terms of playbook, I mean, it's two pages. Here's the job manual. That's it. Yep, we just do it really well. And that's kind of their method of madness over there.
Just so you have it, since 2022, it's gone Niners, 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 so 4, Niners, Niners, 6, Seahawks, Niners. So what was that? 7 of 8 have been Niners. So just wanted to make sure we don't leave any number undiscovered here.
The
So
Niners run the West. The only one that's really presenting them problems is the Rams. And I'm not talking about like who's gonna win. I'm just talking about stress, like in their minds of because Sean McVay. But they don't feel I'm speaking for them. Come on a podcast now. With all due respect to them and Seahawks, the Niners, I just feel like it feels like little brother to them right now.
that was 7 of 8. I just counted. So
Yeah.
I can see why
Yeah, how you feel. Yeah, there's a reason why you went 7 of 8.
there's a reason why you win 7 of 8. But okay, so I want to mention 2 things that I think are low key impactful for Seattle because we've talked a lot about Niners. Let's talk about number 1. If they don't get Rashid Shaheed back, now I understand from he's in the concussion protocol right now. I'm talking about special teams, baby. That starting field position is really important. And he's a speedster. He could take the top off at any point. Like there's a lot that could be like that is a low key, like that could be a big problem for Seattle. Number 2, figuring out the running backs. Now we saw Zach Charbonnet be really helpful against the Panthers this past week. It was different. They've kind of flip-flop between him and Kenneth Walker for who's doing what where, right? Like they try to, I think, probably disguise some of the looks. And will Kubiak decide that which one? Of course, I like that one, but I think the trick is the AJ Barner trick on the field with them because AJ Barner is a little bit the straw that stirs the drink, other than Jackson Smith and Jake. But that's the clearly the best.
He's a drink. No, he's a drink.
He is the drink, but I think like some of the tricks in the run game and some of those shorter yardage situations in the red area, watch AJ Barner. It's kind of amazing. Like I think they call him like the barnyard dog, which is also a fun nickname. That's a pretty good nickname, but watch AJ Barner in this one. So we talk a lot about George Kittle and his availability and if he's okay, whatever. But I think that I'm not suggesting AJ Barner's anywhere near the tight end that George Kittle is, but in terms of importance in the red area in this particular matchup, I think AJ Barner is a little bit underrated, and we're not talking about him enough.
Yeah, you don't have to be as good as another player. You just have to have that role in your system.
Yep.
Right? You don't have to be the best, corner 3-point shooter. You just have to be the shooter on your team that stands in the corner. And that might be the workload that you get in your system.
Right.
And is there OC, correct me, is it Kubiak?
Clint,
Right.
so many Ks.
Yeah, I believe it's Clint with a K, Kubiak with a K. No, that's too many. Hey, listen, that's too many Ks for me.
Let's see his middle name.
Hold on. Let me make sure we keep our. Hold on. That's different. They spent that. All right. Anyway, I think he was at the Niners when I was there. So look, I think they have a lot of wrinkles of a similar offense, and the tight ends get super involved. They find
His middle name is Alexander. It's fine.
Ooh. Okay. Yeah, that would have been.
Got it. We're good. He's fine. He's fine. All right, keep going.
I would have just never. I would have changed topics. But I think they have similar offense.
Specialist in 2023 for the Niners, just so you know.
Right. So he was there when I was there in 23. Right. That makes sense to me. So he knows the Niners offense well, and I think that's why they got Sam Darnold. Right. Connect the dots. They got Sam Darnold because he was with the Niners in 23. So I think we talked about how the Bucs and the Panthers have so many similarities. Look how much about Seattle's offense and moving their pieces around and getting the tight ends involved and running the ball and playing multiple positionless players and moving Jackson Smith and Jigba around. I think it's very similar to what the Niners do. So I think this is a great matchup, fascinating for those reasons. And the offensive play caller and quarterback were literally in the room with the Niners offensive play caller and quarterback and Purdy and Shanahan. So how funny the NFL works, how tight-knit it all is.
Oh, it's very incestual. Okay, so you have the Niners, I have the Seahawks. I think that's our Big
That's my
takeaway,
take on it.
yeah. Yeah, that's our big
Yep.
takeaway. So, okay, so you in terms of predictions for last week, you crushed it. You had a Niners prediction. Actually, you know what? You were totally wrong. You said Brock Purdy was gonna, what'd you say? He's gonna
Go
throw
off.
for,
I probably throw for, what'd I say, 300 and
yeah, whatever. You forgot he was gonna score a rushing touchdown. You were so wrong, obviously.
yo, Dougie Purdy. Purdy on that Dougie is a whole different animal.
That's what that was. Okay,
He's starting
I
to show
thought
you
it was
guys
the
his real
Dougie.
personality. He's starting to show you his real personality now. Now you're
I
seeing him. Now
I
you're
like
seeing
it.
him.
He looks like he's 15 years old, and I'm like watching him, like, "That looks like the Dougie, but is he old enough to know what the Dougie is?" That was my question, so
That was his probably kindergarten graduation song when it came out. So, but uh, yo, he is elite at how he sees things in the pocket because he's not that tall, and it's just his. You kind of got the Collinsworth Mahomes glaze a little bit, right? And um, you're seeing his ability to move people, how he's elusive and stuff. I'm really happy, like, it's getting his credit because a lot of people doubted, like, why is he paid and da da da. Like, you know how hard it is to get paid as a 7th round draft pick, regardless of position. He's Mr. Irrelevant.
Right.
Okay, there's 1st round quarterbacks that can't get it done with
Correct.
tons of opportunity. He had to literally beat out, wait out all these other Trey Lance, Jimmy Garoppolo to
Really?
get
I mean, he's on a team, but, like, no one
right.
really, like,
So,
this could be a good
it
trivia question.
right, and now they're watching Brock Purdy play, and with the 3rd most reps in training camp, or 3rd fewest reps in training camp and stuff. So, he is that good of a football player, and I'm happy we see that, and he usually plays well in the big moments too. He doesn't change up. So, that's, my insight on, per dog, we call.
So you were totally wrong, way off. I mean, you way off. I was actually wrong, because I thought that the Eagles would exploit a Buffalo Bills defense that had been super generous to the run. I know it was like a Slurpee outside, so, it's weird, but that's no excuse. You'd think the run game would be even better then. Take Bigsy got, like, I don't know, 2 touches. I don't know what I'm looking at with the Eagles. We'll talk about that going into the playoffs because 'cause they're
They
in a
need their
game that
tackles back. They need their tackles back.
they need their tackles back, but they also need, like, they need some swagger. They don't have a identity that's makes any sense. It changes every single game. But I'm gonna force you to do something that I'm sure you hate to do, but because I'm not gonna vote, I'm gonna make you pick your coach of the year because this is the tightest coach of the year race ever. So we won't have a good answer for a while. If you'd like to make we already made 3 predictions in the show for games. So I feel like picking the coach of the year, tightest race, at least I can remember.
Well, I've went bias all episode, right? So, obviously, Shanahan's up there. He might have the best odds now. What he's done is truly unprecedented. Hopefully, all the other disrespect on his name about Super Bowls and all that, like, he's really show you how good of a coach he is. Okay, obviously, Vrabel's up there with the Patriots and what they've done in the turnaround, and he needs to be up there. But I'm just going to kill my biases of how biased I've been of picking all my teams this episode. I'm gonna go with Liam Cohen because what the Jags have done, right? Small market. What the Jags have done, especially the Denver win. Trevor Lawrence got him playing the best ball of his career. We talked about how he has a similarity to doing this first year, how hard that is, calling the plays, demanding, but they kind of don't even have like Travis Hunter's not even on the field. They don't even have their number 2 overall pick on the field, and they had a trade at the trade deadline for Jacoby Myers, and they have a chance to get the 1 seed. So I feel as if the Jacksonville story out of all of them might be the hardest to do in the first year. And that is no shade. Like, I think Shanahan should get it and could get it. I think Vrabel could get it, but I'm just going to go with Liam Cohen because he definitely deserves that award, what he's doing in Jacksonville. Nobody saw Jacksonville coming. Nobody saw the Patriots coming. And obviously the Niners, we expected with the softer schedule, but with the injuries, we didn't see that coming.
So I'm with you on all of those. I'm just going to add one more to the list that the fact that we don't have the Kansas City Chiefs in the playoffs is in large part because the Denver Broncos have been crushing. So you have to at least give Sean Payton, a guy who had the cojones to get rid of Russell Wilson for $1 million to the Steelers because he had so much faith in the system that he was bringing it. Now, I don't think, to be clear, I don't think Sean Payton will win it, but I want to just give because I just think these other coaches have a much more, the Broncos made the playoffs last year. So it's not like you're looking at a team who was destitute last year. But I want to make the case because to have that kind of conviction, to get rid of that kind, like that's tough. Like that's that can be tough sledding. I mean, you're going to watch what happens in Miami. They're going to have to make a decision of that same caliber. Will they do it? Who knows? It's hard to pull the trigger.
Yeah, and he's betting on himself. Sean Payton's like, no, this is how I want to do it, and I know financially it
Yep.
doesn't make sense, right? But this is what we need to do to turn this around. And I think you're seeing these things turn around quickly. When you get the right guy in charge and you give him the cachet to go do what he needs to do, what Vrabel needs to do, what Shanahan needs to do. Look at Ayuk. I mean, he's not playing this year. Their number one wide receiver is not even playing, not even on the team this year. And
Mhm.
there's still other chance to be the number one seed. Like, that stuff's kind of unprecedented.
Yeah.
But they're standing on their business, and they can because they know what they're doing, it looks like.
Yeah, but so I guess that would just be my argument for Sean Payton. And again, all of these guys are very deserving. There's
Yeah,
none of-
you can't get it wrong this year. These coaches
unless
are.
it's not one of those guys.
What about
Good,
Ben
and get it
Johnson?
wrong.
What about Ben Johnson and the Bears?
Correct.
Right?
Yeah,
Like,
no, Ben
you
Johnson for sure
cannot.
is also in there.
Look, I'm not fans of coaches getting fired every year and all that, but shoot, if you can bring a guy in and turn it this quick, what is going on? That's why I see why there's so many movement because
Not one of
these are
those 5, then I'm gonna be so mad at these voters. So, like, by the way,
yeah, no, it has to be. That has to be.
one of those 5. If it's not one of if it's somehow
Who
someone
else would it
different, I'm gonna lose my mind. But here's my just so everyone knows, the people who do have a vote, their votes are due January 5th. So the fact that, these big time games could have these influences in last minute situations. See, Matthew Stafford probably not being the MVP after this. Although I don't think he should. Like, I'm not saying I love Matthew Stafford. I'm a big Matthew Stafford. I sit there and I'm like, hello, Christian McCaffrey. Anyways, but we
Hey, if Chris McCaffrey flies up, I mean, look, they win and get the 1 seed, his odds might go up depending how Drake May and Matt Stafford play. I'm
but
gonna
if you
say you
want to make it a quarterback, if you
I'm
want
gonna
to make
say I'm gonna say you said it first though. I'm gonna give you your
Thank you.
props
I've been
on
like,
my little
I've
platform.
been very vocal about this because I'm sitting here watching bodies of work, not just one game.
Yeah,
And
value.
just why if it's Matthew Stafford, great. But that one game against the Falcons should not. The man has, I don't know what, 42 touchdowns and 8 interceptions.
Body of work, yes.
Like, the body of work should matter. But
There should be no poll or odd. I mean, I understand that's not how betting works, but there should be no betting or odds
like
until
a
the season
market,
ends.
yeah.
Until the season ends, then judge the body of work, not a week to week. It's like a Heisman. Oh, that's an interception. He's not going to win the Heisman no more. That was one
But if you have an
interception.
interception week 1, you can win the Heisman. You just
Right.
can have an interception
Week
whatever week they
16.
vote.
No. Now every play, is going to judge whether you get all pro or not. It's kind of crazy.
All right, so who's your final pick is Liam Cohen. I guess I'll do one too, just because I feel like I don't know, but I'm gonna go with the Ben Johnson. I just think that's whatever. Again, as long as it's one of those 5, I'm not gonna be mad. But I just feel like the overarching theme of Chicago never having a functional quarterback since a long time, right, has been one of the reasons to drive it. That I don't know. That's kind of where I believe the voters will net out.
I'm with it. I agree. I mean, you can't get wrong with any situation. I think the coaches have coached their butt off this year. I think durability has gone down in the NFL. Like, players are more, durability's down, but I think coaching is up. I mean, what I'm seeing these guys do, they're truly like in their bag. When I see how some of these teams are playing, like it is a different level of some of these coaches than others. I think that the coaching game, the standard has went up, and you can't just do things the old way that was passed down from 30 years ago. I think these guys are showing, game situation, clock management,
100%.
right? Analytics getting involved, time, like getting the young quarterback to understand what you need from them, not just blaming the quarterback for not playing well. I think all this stuff has really taken a step up.
We could have talked about that with the Ravens and Steelers game too, because there's been some questionable things here. But whatever. Long story short is, it's funny that you're talking about that because 1 week from today we will probably have about, I don't know, 7 openings. We know 2 for sure, but we've historically had about 8 openings per season. So, this is the last week of the regular season. We'll be back with a playoff episode. Yay! Our wild card weekend is like the absolute best weekend in all of football, in my opinion. Love it. It's my favorite. But we'll see you on your call. Bengals, Browns.
Bengals, Browns. And yeah,
Right.
here's my prediction. I'll give you my prediction real quick.
Yeah.
Myles Garrett's breaking the sack record. I'm on the call. I'm
Love
going
it.
down in history. You're gonna hear my
Do you
nice.
have you gotten it ready yet? Like warmed up the
No, I don't know.
enthusiasm?
I don't know. I don't want to overthink it.
Nope.
You know,
Just
I don't
let
want
it
to
come
overthink it.
organically.
Yeah, so I don't have any riddle or pun yet. But
No cheesy pun. Just let whatever comes out, comes out.
listen, I'm happy to call any NFL game. It's a dream of mine to be an NFL announcer, and the fact I'm getting an opportunity is great. And in my game, the Bengals. Look, I'm going to talk to Joe Burrow. I want to figure out his future in football. You know, I've had good conversations with Joe. He's very introspective, and very smart. And I want to know his thoughts on. Cause I had these thoughts. How long do you want to play? Why are you still playing? What is there to prove? Does another Super Bowl make you get out of bed, feel different about yourself? Like what
Love
makes
it.
us do what we do? So the Joe Burrow future, the Zach Taylor future with the Bengals, and obviously the Browns future over there with Stefanski. Shador, perfect timing. I get to call a Shador game, right? Is he the future for the Browns? And then obviously Myles Garrett with his chance to make history. So I'm super excited for
It's a
this one.
great
Tons
game.
of
It's gonna be
storylines.
awesome. I love that for you. By the way, Joe Burrow, awesome chess player.
I'm not surprised.
He
Not
played chess
surprised.
before the Super Bowl. He's a really good really good chess player. In case you want a little extra.
Icebreaker.
Well,
Icebreaker.
icebreaker. So, what do you do? What's your opening move, Joe?
Yeah, let's open and move. Yeah. There
Describe
you
your
go.
perfect open. Thank you. How do you control the
We're
middle
going
of
to
the
talk
board?
about fossils. We're going to talk about why some quarterbacks get their guys 4x4s and pickup trucks, and why you went with the fossils. You know, do they appreciate the fossils? Maybe was it as received as you thought it would be? It's very thoughtful, and a fossil is cool. Would I rather have a pickup truck? Everybody can get a pickup truck. Can everyone get a fossil? I don't know. You know, these are things we got to figure out and get on air.
I can't wait to hear about that next week. Have so much fun on the call. We can't wait to listen to you. Thank you for everything, as always. And thank you all for listening. Remember, subscribe, like, comment, leave your notes for who you think are going to win these 3 huge games and who you think will win the NFC South if you don't think the Panthers will win this game. So leave your comments. We want to hear them. We'll see you back here next week.